In this tutorial, I'm going to go over how you can use the auto-gen features in MapMaker to quickly create large numbers of structures to add to your map. We'll start by typing the name of our map, Nicolino. If you forget the name of your map, you can always use the Browse Maps button and find your map in the Media folder and press Enter. The map will start loading. When the map is done loading, you'll see an image of your working map in the working map area. Our map is loaded now, so we can get started. In MapMaker, structures refers to those three-dimensional objects that you place on your map. Structures might be things such as churches or factories or houses, but it also covers things such as cows or timber piles or brush or trees that you might want to place into the woods on your map. On our Nicolino map, we have three main wooded areas, one in the upper left-hand corner, one on the left side, and then another in the lower right. If you hover your mouse over these areas, you'll see in the information panel toward the lower right that it says that these are wooded areas. And we're going to be using the auto-gen feature of MapMaker to go ahead and add three-dimensional tree models to these wooded areas. We'll start by going over to the center left portion of the screen and clicking on our Browse Structures folder. And then we'll navigate to the Tree folder. It says Nature Trees. This is where we'll find our tree models. I'm going to change this to a thumbnail view so that we can see pictures of what these models will look like. And we can scroll down through and see the different variety that's available. I think I'm going to start with setting some 3D beech trees for our map. So I click on the beech model, and you'll notice that the picture comes here into our image box. I'm going to leave the name field blank and let MapMaker generate a name automatically for me. Since these trees are going to be placed in areas on the map that have already been coded as woods, I don't need to set a structure type. I'm going to set the value for alpha at 100. You can experiment with different values, but if you get too low of an alpha for trees, you might notice some trees start having a halo appear. So I've found 100 is a good setting for this value. The minimum delta setting is the minimum distance that this tree will be placed from the centroid of any other auto-generated structures that appear before it on our structure list box. I'm going to go ahead and put in, let's say, 2 meters for this setting. The C setting tells MapMaker whether or not you want to have your entire tree structure confined to the map color that you've chosen. If I clear this value, then MapMaker will still set the trunk of the tree, the centroid of the tree model, in the woods area, in the woods color I've selected, but the branches may extend out beyond that border. I'm going to uncheck that box because if you notice there's some fairly small areas that we're going to end up as wooded areas here in the residential part of the map. So I'm going to leave the C value unchecked. The next setting is density. This is expressed as the number of objects, in our case trees, that we want MapMaker to place per square kilometer. I'm going to enter 1000 for the density for our beech tree. If the entire map were coded to the woods color terrain, then we would end up with around 1,000 trees generated. But since it's not, MapMaker will proportionally reduce that, so we'll have fewer than 1,000, but the density is 1,000. The next setting is the random orientation that we want for this model. I kind of like in wooded areas, I like to have pretty random. So this will randomize the tree in both the X, Y, and Z directions. So your trees will be tilted maybe a little bit. They'll be rotated around. So give you a nice natural appearance to the woodland area. Now I hold down the Shift key and left click into the woods terrain color. MapMaker creates the name for the structure and adds it to the structure list, and you can see that it's generated 140 trees, and it will randomly distribute those throughout that woods terrain color. Even though Panzer command has 3 different levels of woods, it has light woods, woods, and heavy woods terrain. This map only has the 1 level of woods identified, and that's the woods terrain itself, which is the middle range. But we're going to want quite a few more than just 1,000 trees per square kilometer to fill out our woods terrain on this map. So I'm going to add some more trees. I go up to my structure button and I look at the trees available, and let's go ahead and add a medium beech tree. This will give us a variety of sizes that we'll have in our woods. I click on that. You can see that it has these same settings, so I'll just go over and shift click into the woods terrain color. MapMaker has added another set of woods tree models to our woods, and you can see it has 140 trees that it's going to add into these woods, so that our total density now is actually 2,000 trees per square kilometer. Well, I'm going to keep adding trees. I go up to the structure folder, and this time I think I'll put in a small beech tree. Settings, keep the settings, so I shift click into the woods terrain. And I've added another set of trees to our woods terrain. Let's keep adding trees. This time we'll take a look and see what else we have. I think on this one we'll go ahead and add a birch tree. So click on the birch tree model. Simply go over and shift click into our woods terrain. And now we have the birch trees added to our forest. And let's keep adding trees now till we get the density that we'd like to have. You can see that we've added a few more tree models to our woods terrain. One thing I like to do is have some brush in my woods terrain. So I'm going to add some brush. I go to the structure button and look and see what we might have available. I see a 3D brush 1. Let's go ahead and add that model. So I click on it. I'm going to keep the same settings. So I just shift click into our woods terrain, and that adds 140 3D brush 1 models. Let's go ahead and add another brush model, get a little bit of variety. So I select brush 2. Shift click into the woods terrain, and I now have the second brush model. I noticed some dead trees in our structure folder, so I think I'm going to add some character to these woods and maybe put a dead tree or so in our woods terrain. So I go in and navigate to them. Let's pick dead tree 4 and go ahead and add that into our woods terrain. So I shift click, and now I have some dead trees in our woods. Keep in mind that even though I've placed all of these tree models into the woods area on the left of the map, they're actually going to be distributed in all of the wood colored terrain throughout our map. Another thing that I like to do is to scatter some random trees in the open areas on our map. Not in our crop fields, of course, but in our clear areas. So I'm going to go to the structure folder and take a look at some thumbnails. And we'll go ahead and maybe I'll try the alder tree. We'll put an alder tree here. I click on that. This time though, I do want to designate a structure type. Since these are being placed in areas that are colored for open terrain, I'm going to go ahead and change this model to be a light tree. And that way MapMaker will actually color the area right below the tree as a light woods terrain. You'll notice some different defaults have come into play. And I'll go ahead and leave those defaults. Go ahead and change the density. We don't want this to be a wooded area, so I'm not going to have it quite as dense. We'll just put in 100 for this value. And I'm going to put it into this dark brown color here that's open area, but it's a dark brown color, and it has some in the village area too. So I'll shift click. And you can see that I've added, looks like about 9 trees is what MapMaker expects to add. Another thing that I like to do is to add some grass clumps to our open terrain. Again, not in our plowed fields, but in our open terrain. So I'm going to go to the structure folder. I'm still in the trees, so I'm going to go up one level. So I'll go in and I see some nature, brush, hedge, and wheat. So let's look in that folder. And I'm going to find some grass clump. Here's a 3D grass clump. Let's go ahead and pick this one. I need to change the structure type to none, since this is really clear terrain. And again, we have some different defaults. I'm going to go ahead and set the density for this. Let's say go ahead and do 100, and I'll shift click into this lighter brown color, and that'll generate some grass clumps scattered in that color. I want to go ahead and add some variety, so I'll go back to the structures folder, and I think this time I'll pick that grass clump, a little bit different, and I'll shift click into the brown area and add a different kind of grass clump there. I think you can see how you can use AutoGens to create quite a few structures for your map. We've done quite a lot to our map, so let's go ahead and build it and take a look, see how it looks in Scene Edit. So I'll say yes, I do want to overwrite Nicola. When the map is created, you'll see your dialog. Before we look at this in Scene Edit though, you might want to notice that it has generated over 1,600 structures, which would have taken quite a long time to do if we were to have done each one of those structures individually. So we'll say yes. Let's take a look at it in Scene Edit. I'll widen this out a little bit and pull this map in. You don't see any trees yet because we're far out, but as we zoom in, you start to see some of the trees that we've generated. You'll notice some of the grass clumps that we placed in the open areas, as well as some of the alder trees that we scattered in the open areas. After looking at your map, if you decide that you think you need a higher density of woods and trees in your woods, you can always go back and adjust the density or add additional trees. We'll go ahead and close Scene Edit. I think you can see how using the AutoGen process in MapMaker will save you quite a lot of time in building your maps.